The luxury brand Genesis continues to be his. Born from a midsize sedan initially marketed under the banner of its parent company Hyundai Genesis 2008, the brand branched out on its own in 2016. Initially with the second-generation Hyundai Genesis G80 and later the G90, which replaced the full-size Hyundai Equus luxury car. Since then, the G70 sports sedan has appeared, as have two SUVs, the smaller GV80 and GV70, which just won the 2022 SUV of the Year award, while the G90 did a mild visual update for 2020. Now, for 2023, it's getting a complete redesign. The big one. So far all we have is images of the new G90 released in Korea, plus some details that may not be specific to. The market model will look almost exactly the same, and that's a very good thing. While the current G90 sports an adaptation of Genesis' latest design language on top of the pre-2020 G90 box shape, the new version is fully committed to twin-slat headlights, a 5-sided shield grille, intricately sculpted wheels, and a sleek design. The curved body folds that debuted on the new GV80 and GV70 SUVs and the G80 sedan. In fact, the new G90 leapfrogged its stablemates in bringing the vision of Genesis style to its lowest point. The cat's eye headlights wrap almost the entirety of the front end, being broken off by the wheel holes and taking up the front fender before stopping at the front edge of the front door. No lattice missing either, but had to see it in real life to gauge if it was glam or gauche. The wheels at least pictured here are very technical in appearance, with an angular spoke design that seems to complement the grille-filling grille and full-width bottom intake. Most surprising? How elegant the rest of the G90 2023 is. Sure, we'd like to take a peek at the grille in person, but in the photo it's almost overshadowed by the clean surface, subtle curves and unusual details throughout the body. The front fenders flow backwards and form strong shoulders in the middle through the rear doors, their surfaces pointing upwards to provide visual muscle to the rear fenders. The tail is defined by a few sharp horizontal elements, including a thin full-width taillight section, a secondary light strip below, and a lower section that picks up a dark trim strip that runs along the body sides to break up the G90's visual height. The twin-slat headlights are incredibly thin thanks to micro-lens array or MLA technology, which fuses a low-light daylight lens so that, assuming, one light source can do what two sources normally need. And the ends of those headlights that run into the fenders behind each front wheel have a hidden purpose, hiding the cut line for the hood. So why not see the dash for that big, curvy, clamshell-style engine cover? There's enough there without leading to the generic appearance of previous Genesis attempts. Maybe because more Genesis models have been introduced and therefore become a recognizable Genesis, but there's no denying that the G90 will no longer trade solely on its size to imply its luxury. It's a distinctive and attractive piece, even in the form of the short wheelbase silvery white car pictured here. Genesis will also sell long wheelbase models as Germany did with full-size limousines. The longer version is pictured above in purple. Genesis designers demonstrated similar restraint on the interior. Forms are generally pleasing, and the dashboard has a substantial structural appearance. Today, Genesis signature style cues can be found throughout, from the highly detailed two-spoke steering wheel to the massive digital display to the intricately upholstered leather seats. However, it is worth looking at the various expanses of metal trim firsthand. The shiny stuff around the center stack controls and the center console panel housing the dial and the main infotainment control dial appears as mid-2000s luxury. Think the original Lincoln Aviator, or Mercury, hence our fright. Those old premium faux Moco products use not only plastic painted that way, but also on large trim pieces, which only attract more attention. The large oval-shaped switch flanking the steering wheel fits the mold. Oddly enough, the left one operates the trunk release while the right controls the cluster illumination. Why are these two so big? If the object were really metal, not treated plastic, it would invalidate this observation. Genesis mentions that aluminum is used, but doesn't specify where, or whether it's a material used liberally in and around the console and even on the door control panels or, say, the smaller bits. While some of the switchgear may seem too big, I won't complain too much about the size. After all, the larger buttons are easier to operate, and can you take a moment to appreciate that the new G90, a proper full-size luxury product, has almost the full range of actual buttons, not the fussy capacitive touch stand-ins that little eyes pry on. We physical key shortcuts for navigation maps, radio, and media menus. And is that rocker switch for manipulating the two front HVAC zones of the cab? Usability can be a luxury, especially in today's high-end car segment, where Japanese and German automakers seem determined to complicate the user experience with each other. That said, there seems to be no shortage of toys on board, from the front passenger seat that folds forward to provide almost reclined rear seat space for the right rear passenger to doors that can be opened or closed electronically with a motor. Push a button. The rear seats are embellished with displays, including two facing seats and another 8.0-inch unit in between for climate control, massage and other luxury functions. Genesis has followed Mercedes-Benz into adaptive suspension territory with a system dubbed Preview ECS electronic control suspension, which can scan the road ahead for imperfections and prepare dampers and air spring height accordingly. While Mercedes is famous for tuning the brake pedals of its full-size S-Class sedan for smooth driver stopping, which sometimes results in a slippery and unattractive brake feel, Genesis offers G90 drivers the option of switching perhaps via the brake feel button between a driver mode and the other two, perhaps more. Fast fashion. The new rear wheel steering function can steer the rear wheels up to 4 degrees forward at low speeds for increased turning radius and up to 2 degrees with the front wheels at high speeds for increased stability. Access to the G90 can be granted via a digital key. Users can unlock and start the car as long as their smartphone is in hand, a traditional key, or even via the fingerprint scanner on the console. Active noise cancellation reduces cabin noise, while the 23-speaker Bang & Olufsen audio system enhances noise. Taking another cue from Benz, Genesis has installed a fragrance system that spreads a pleasant aroma throughout the interior of the car. For more, say, bacterial odors, the cab has an antibacterial cabin filter and can sterilize the air via a photocatalyst module. There are also UVC LED lights on each rear armrest which Genesis claims can sterilize small items. Initial specifications for the G90 were as follows. The shorter length model sits on a 125.2-inch wheelbase and is 207.7-inch in full length. The G90s with a long wheelbase puts an extra 7.5 inches between the axles and is a whopping 215.2 inches long, both just a fraction of an inch from the Mercedes Maybach S680 we just drove. So far, the only powertrain Genesis has detailed is a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 with or without a 48-volt mild hybrid system. In plain non-hybrid guise, the V6 puts out 375 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque.